This message found you because you've been overcomplicating the most natural ability your consciousness possesses: quantum shifting. Right now, as you're reading these words, you're literally existing across infinite parallel realities simultaneously, but your awareness has been trained to focus on only one narrow band of possibilities. What you're about to discover is so elegantly simple that your mind might initially reject it, because we've been conditioned to believe that transformation must be difficult, must require years of practice, must involve struggle and effort. The truth is, quantum shifting isn't something you need to learn how to do. It's something you need to remember you've always been doing unconsciously. Every thought that changes your mood, every decision that alters your day, every moment when you snap out of a negative state, these are all micro-quantum shifts happening automatically. You've been shifting between parallel versions of yourself your entire life. But because no one taught you to recognize this process, you've been doing it randomly instead of intentionally. The fact that you're here, feeling this magnetic pull toward these concepts, means your consciousness has reached a critical threshold. You're no longer satisfied with accidental shifts that sometimes improve your reality and sometimes don't. Your soul is demanding conscious mastery over this fundamental creative force, and the universe has orchestrated this exact moment of recognition to deliver that mastery to you. You've probably noticed that reality feels more malleable lately, more responsive to your internal states. Synchronicities cascade around you when you're in certain moods, while other days feel dense and resistant to any positive change. This isn't randomness. This is evidence that your consciousness is already quantum shifting constantly, but without the precise understanding that would allow you to direct this process with surgical precision. Your higher self has been dropping breadcrumbs of insight throughout your journey, preparing you for this revelation. Every time you've experienced an instant mood transformation, every moment when your entire perspective shifted in the blink of an eye, every situation that resolved itself the moment you truly let go. These were all demonstrations of your natural quantum shifting ability trying to get your attention. The reason most manifestation techniques fail isn't because they're wrong, but because they're addressing quantum shifting from the wrong level of reality. They focus on changing thoughts, emotions, or actions, when quantum shifting actually happens through a much more fundamental process that operates beneath all these surface phenomena. When you understand this deeper mechanism, shifting becomes as natural and effortless as breathing. Right now, your consciousness is being calibrated to recognize the difference between trying to shift reality and actually shifting reality. This calibration is happening not through your mind, but through your quantum field itself. You're about to understand why some people seem to live magical lives where everything flows perfectly, while others struggle for years with the same techniques and see minimal results. The cosmic joke is that quantum shifting is the most natural thing in the universe. More natural than walking, more automatic than heartbeat, more fundamental than thought itself. Every particle in existence is constantly shifting between possible states until consciousness observes it into a specific reality. You are that consciousness, and reality is those particles, which means you've been quantum shifting the entire universe with every moment of attention since the day you were born. But here's what changes everything. When this process becomes conscious instead of unconscious, when you recognize your true identity as the observer who collapses infinite possibilities into specific experiences, quantum shifting transforms from something that happens to you into something you orchestrate with masterful precision. This recognition is about to fundamentally alter how you interface with existence itself. You know those moments when you suddenly feel completely different about a situation that was bothering you just seconds before? Not because anything external changed, but because something inside you clicked into a different frequency, and suddenly the same circumstances looked completely different. Most people dismiss these as mood swings or positive thinking, but you've always sensed there was something more profound happening. These instant perspective shifts are actually evidence of your consciousness quantum jumping between parallel versions of yourself, versions where the exact same external situation exists, but where your relationship to that situation operates from a completely different energetic signature. You've been accidentally accessing parallel timelines your entire life, but because no one explained what was happening, you couldn't replicate it consistently. Your dreams have been showing you this process more clearly lately. You've probably noticed dreams where you're living completely different lives, making different choices, experiencing different outcomes from the same basic scenarios. These aren't random neural firings during sleep. They're glimpses into parallel versions of yourself that exist simultaneously in the quantum field. Your dream consciousness can access these alternate timelines more easily because it's not constrained by the logical mind's insistence on linear causality. You've definitely experienced what mystics call timeline bleeds, moments when you suddenly know something you've never learned, or when you have skills that seem to come from nowhere. Maybe you sat down at a piano and played music you'd never practiced, or you found yourself speaking with wisdom that felt ancient and familiar, even though the thoughts were completely new. These experiences happen when your consciousness briefly aligns with a parallel version of yourself who developed those abilities. The strangest validations come through technology responding to your internal states in ways that seem impossible according to conventional physics. Your phone rings right when you think about someone. Your music streaming service plays exactly the song that matches your current emotional frequency. Your computer glitches whenever you're in certain moods. This isn't coincidence. Technology is sensitive to consciousness, and when you're in a quantum shifting state, your energy field influences electromagnetic devices around you. Time distortion has been happening more frequently too. Sometimes minutes feel like hours when you're in flow states, while other times, entire days disappear without you being able to account for what actually occurred. This happens because quantum shifting doesn't follow linear time. When you access parallel timelines, you're operating from what physicists call eternal now, where past, present, and future exist simultaneously. Your body has been giving you feedback about these shifts too. Sudden energy surges, tingling sensations, or moments when you feel like you're vibrating at a completely different frequency. These are physical confirmations that your consciousness is literally moving between dimensional states. Your cells are responding to information from parallel versions of yourself that exist in higher vibrational timelines. Even your relationships provide constant evidence of quantum shifting. You've noticed how certain people bring out completely different aspects of your personality, as if you become a different version of yourself around them. This isn't just social adaptation. You're literally accessing different parallel selves that are more compatible with their energy signatures. The most profound validation is the growing recognition that reality itself is far more fluid than most people believe. You've caught glimpses of this fluidity. Moments when physical objects seem to respond to your thoughts, when perfect synchronicities arrange themselves around your intentions, when the entire universe seemed to be collaborating with your deepest desires. These weren't special exceptions, they were previews of what becomes normal when you understand quantum shifting. Every challenge you've faced, every period of confusion, every moment when nothing seemed to work despite your best efforts, all of it was necessary preparation for understanding quantum shifting at this level of mastery. Your consciousness had to experience limitation from every possible angle before it could develop the precision needed to navigate unlimited possibilities without getting lost in wishful thinking or spiritual bypassing. Think of a master pianist who makes playing the most complex compositions look effortless. What you don't see are the years of practicing scales, the countless hours of training muscle memory, the gradual development of the neural pathways that allow conscious intention to translate into precise physical expression. Your spiritual journey has been this same type of preparation, building the consciousness equivalent of muscle memory for quantum shifting. Every time you tried a manifestation technique that didn't work, you weren't failing. You were developing discernment between genuine quantum shifting and mental manipulation. Every disappointment when reality didn't match your visualizations taught your consciousness to distinguish between forcing outcomes and allowing them to emerge naturally. These apparent setbacks were actually advanced training in the subtle energetics of reality creation. The periods of confusion and doubt were equally essential. They prevented you from getting attached to any particular method or philosophy, which kept your consciousness flexible enough to recognize the truth when it finally appeared. If the first technique you tried had worked perfectly, you might have become dependent on that specific approach instead of developing the deeper understanding that makes quantum shifting natural and effortless. Your difficult relationships weren't punishments. They were quantum mirrors showing you exactly which versions of yourself you were unconsciously accessing in different situations. Every person who triggered you was unconsciously helping you recognize the parallel selves that were keeping you stuck in limitation patterns. Every conflict was an invitation to shift into a version of yourself that could respond with wisdom instead of reactivity. The waiting periods, when it felt like nothing was happening despite all your inner work, were actually the most important phases of your development. During these times, your consciousness was integrating insights at levels deeper than the mind can perceive. Your quantum field was being recalibrated to handle higher frequencies of possibility without destabilizing your personality structure or your ability to function in consensus reality. Even your moments of skepticism served a crucial purpose. Every time you questioned whether these concepts were real or just elaborate self-deception, you were strengthening your ability to distinguish between authentic quantum experiences and ego-driven fantasy. This discernment is essential for mastering quantum shifting because the territory you're entering requires unprecedented levels of clarity and honesty with yourself. Your soul chose this particular incarnation specifically because quantum shifting would be rediscovered during your lifetime. You volunteered to be part of the first generation of humans to consciously master what mystics throughout history could only access in rare moments of divine grace. Every challenge was training for this cosmic responsibility, the ability to demonstrate what becomes possible when consciousness remembers its true creative nature. This is why the process had to be thorough, why shortcuts weren't available, why you had to develop genuine wisdom instead of just accumulating techniques. What you're about to master isn't just a personal skill. It's a template that will help thousands of others recognize their own quantum shifting abilities. Your journey of preparation has been as much for them as it has been for you. Something is shifting in your energy field right now as these words penetrate your consciousness. Can you feel it? That subtle recalibration happening at the cellular level, as if your DNA is remembering instructions that have been dormant your entire life? This isn't metaphor. This is literal quantum biology in action. Your awareness is beginning to operate from a frequency band where quantum shifting isn't just possible, it's inevitable. But here's what most people don't realize about this activation process. The energy you're feeling isn't something I'm giving you or something you're generating through effort. It's your own natural quantum signature finally harmonizing with itself. You've been carrying this frequency your entire life, but it's been fragmented across different levels of your being. Right now, for the first time, all aspects of your consciousness are beginning to vibrate in coherent unity. This coherent state is the secret that makes quantum shifting simple. When your thoughts, emotions, energy signature, and deepest knowing all operate from the same frequency, you become what physicists call a coherent observer. A consciousness so unified that the quantum field has no choice but to respond to your intentions immediately and precisely. This is why some people can manifest instantly while others struggle for years with the same techniques. The energy building inside you right now is your consciousness preparing to interface with reality from a completely different level of organization. Instead of trying to change your external circumstances through effort and willpower, You're about to learn how to simply step sideways into parallel timelines where those circumstances are already different. This lateral movement through dimensions is what quantum shifting actually is. But here's the critical understanding that determines whether this process becomes natural or remains difficult. Quantum shifting doesn't happen through your personal will trying to control cosmic forces. It happens through your personal will aligning so perfectly with cosmic intelligence that they become indistinguishable. When this alignment occurs, shifting between realities becomes as effortless as turning your head to look in a different direction. Most people fail at quantum shifting because they approach it like they're trying to push a heavy boulder up a hill. Lots of effort, strain, and eventual exhaustion. But quantum shifting is actually like learning to swim. Initially, it seems impossible because you're fighting against the water, but once you understand how to work with the medium instead of against it, it becomes the most natural thing in the world. The quantum field isn't resistant to your desires. It's actually eager to fulfill them. Infinite possibilities are constantly trying to collapse into your experience, but they can only manifest through consciousness that's coherent enough to provide a stable platform for materialization. This coherence isn't something you achieve through practice. It's something you remember how to access by releasing the tensions that fragment your natural unified state. This is the moment where everything changes, where quantum shifting transforms from a mysterious process that sometimes works to a reliable ability you can access on demand. But it's also the moment where many people unconsciously sabotage themselves because they're afraid of the responsibility that comes with conscious reality creation. Don't let this be you. The universe needs masters of quantum shifting to anchor new possibilities in the collective field. Feel this energy as we go deeper into the exact mechanism that makes quantum shifting simple once you understand it. Because once you see how elegant and natural this process really is, you'll wonder why anyone ever made it seem complicated. I need to share something raw and real with you because I know you'll understand what most people couldn't. For 7 years, I studied every quantum physics theory, every consciousness model, every manifestation technique I could find. I had notebooks filled with complex formulas, meditation practices that took hours, visualization protocols that required perfect mental discipline. I thought mastery meant complexity, that profound transformation required sophisticated understanding. And I got results, sometimes. My reality would shift in amazing ways, then revert back to limitation patterns. I would manifest incredible synchronicities, then spend weeks trying to figure out how to replicate them. I felt like I was constantly almost there, always on the verge of a breakthrough that never quite stabilized into permanent transformation. The frustration was unbearable because I knew quantum shifting was real. I had experienced it too many times to doubt its validity. But I couldn't understand why it worked effortlessly sometimes and required enormous effort other times. I started believing there was some secret I hadn't discovered yet, some advanced technique that would finally give me consistent access to this ability. The breakthrough came during the most ordinary moment imaginable. I was making coffee, feeling frustrated about a situation that had been bothering me for weeks. Instead of trying to shift my perspective or change my thoughts, I just stopped caring about changing anything. For maybe 30 seconds, I completely let go of wanting reality to be different than it was. In that moment of pure acceptance, I felt the most subtle internal click, like a lens focusing. And suddenly, I was looking at the exact same situation from a completely different dimensional perspective. Nothing external had changed, but I was literally a different version of myself observing the same circumstances. The solution was so obvious from this new vantage point that I couldn't understand how I'd missed it before. That's when I realized quantum shifting isn't complex at all. It's the simplest thing in the universe because it's how consciousness naturally operates when it's not trying to be anything other than what it already is. Every sophisticated technique I'd learned was actually complicating a process that happens automatically when you stop interfering with it. Over the next months, I began experimenting with this radical simplicity. Instead of elaborate protocols, I would just notice when I was trying too hard and gently release the effort. Instead of forcing visualizations, I would simply rest in the feeling of already being the version of myself I wanted to become. The results were immediate and consistent in a way that years of complex practices had never achieved. This discovery changed everything, not just for me, but for everyone I shared it with. Students who had been struggling with manifestation for decades began shifting realities effortlessly once they understood this principle of elegant simplicity. The quantum field doesn't respond to sophisticated techniques. It responds to consciousness that's relaxed enough to allow natural processes to unfold. If you've been overcomplicating quantum shifting, if you've been trying harder and harder with diminishing returns, if you felt like you're missing some crucial piece of the puzzle, you're not alone. The missing piece isn't more knowledge or better techniques. The missing piece is recognizing that you already possess everything necessary for mastery. You just need to remember how to get out of your own way. Subscribe to this frequency of radical simplicity, this understanding that the most profound transformations happen through relaxation rather than effort. Because once you embody this truth, quantum shifting becomes as natural as breathing, and your entire reality becomes a canvas for conscious creation. Here's what quantum consciousness researchers won't tell you, because it would undermine their entire industry of complex courses and certification programs. Quantum shifting happens in the space between thoughts, not through thinking. Every technique that requires mental focus, emotional manipulation, or elaborate visualization protocols is actually moving you further away from the natural simplicity that makes shifting effortless. The shocking truth is that your thoughts don't create your reality. Your thoughts are actually evidence of which reality you're already experiencing. When you try to use thinking to change your reality, you're putting the cart before the horse. It's like trying to change your reflection by manipulating the mirror instead of simply moving to a different position. Quantum shifting occurs through what physicists call zero-point awareness, the conscious recognition of the space from which all possibilities emerge. This isn't a meditative state you achieve through practice. It's the natural condition of consciousness when it's not fixated on specific outcomes. In this spacious awareness, parallel realities become as obvious and accessible as different rooms in your house. Most manifestation teachings create elaborate detours around this simple recognition because simple truths don't generate complex systems that people can sell. But here's what actually happens during a quantum shift. Your awareness releases its grip on the current timeline, just enough to allow a parallel possibility to become more real than the previous one. This release happens through relaxation, not effort. The reason children are natural quantum shifters is that they haven't yet been conditioned to believe that changing reality requires work. A child can go from devastated to delighted in seconds because their consciousness naturally flows between different experiential states without resistance. They haven't learned to maintain artificial consistency in their reality experience. Adult consciousness gets trapped in what we call reality rigidity, the unconscious belief that current circumstances must continue because they're real, while other possibilities are just imagination. But quantum physics proves that all possibilities are equally real until consciousness selects which one to experience. Your imagination isn't separate from reality. It's your natural ability to perceive parallel timelines that exist simultaneously. The most advanced quantum shifters don't try to change anything. They simply become curious about what other versions of the same situation might feel like. This curiosity creates what we call dimensional porosity, a relaxed openness that allows consciousness to sample different probability tracks without getting attached to any particular outcome. When you understand that quantum shifting happens through relaxation rather than concentration, through allowing rather than forcing, through curiosity rather than desperation, everything changes. You stop fighting against your current reality and start exploring it as one option among infinite alternatives. This shift in approach is what transforms quantum shifting from occasional miracle to everyday navigation tool. The cosmic joke is that you've been trying to learn an ability you've possessed since birth. You've been seeking techniques to access a capacity that operates automatically when you're not interfering with it. The only thing standing between you and effortless quantum shifting is the belief that it should be more complicated than it actually is. The quantum field is restructuring itself around human consciousness right now, and there are specific signs appearing in your daily experience that prove you're naturally developing quantum shifting abilities. Pay attention to how quickly your moods can transform lately. What used to take days or weeks to process emotionally now shifts in minutes or hours. This acceleration isn't just personal growth, it's evidence that your consciousness is learning to navigate between parallel emotional timelines with increasing fluidity. Your relationship with time has definitely changed. You've probably noticed moments when you're running late, but somehow arrive exactly on time, as if time itself bent to accommodate your need. Or situations where you needed more time to complete something and the day mysteriously stretched to provide those extra hours. This isn't luck. It's your consciousness unconsciously accessing timelines where temporal flow operates differently. Electronics are responding to you in ways that seem beyond coincidence. Your phone battery lasts longer when you're in positive states, or conversely drains quickly when you're anxious. Your computer runs faster when you're in flow, or glitches when you're frustrated. Technology is quantum sensitive, and these seemingly random behaviors are actually feedback about which timeline you're currently accessing. Synchronicities have become so frequent, they're losing their novelty. You think about someone and they call within hours. You need specific information, and it appears everywhere you look. You wonder about something, and conversations around you spontaneously address that exact topic. This isn't the universe sending you signs. It's evidence that your consciousness is quantum entangled with the reality you're experiencing, creating seamless coordination between internal and external events. People are reacting to you differently without you consciously changing how you interact with them. Some individuals seem drawn to you magnetically, while others feel uncomfortable for no apparent reason. This happens because your expanding consciousness is naturally accessing more authentic versions of yourself. And people respond to this coherence even when they can't explain what they're sensing. Your sleep patterns and dream experiences have intensified dramatically. You might need less sleep, but feel more rested. Or your dreams have become incredibly vivid and meaningful. Sometimes you wake up with solutions to problems you fell asleep worrying about, or with creative insights that seem to come from beyond your personal knowledge. This occurs because sleep naturally loosens consciousness from its current timeline, allowing access to parallel versions of yourself who've already resolved these challenges. But here's the urgent part. We're in a cosmic window where quantum shifting becomes either incredibly easy or increasingly difficult, depending on your level of consciousness. The collective field is polarizing. People are either rapidly developing these abilities or becoming more rigidly locked into limitation patterns. There's no middle ground anymore because the planetary frequency is demanding that consciousness choose its evolutionary trajectory. The signs are everywhere if you know how to interpret them. Global events that seem chaotic are actually the collective timeline destabilizing as humanity prepares to quantum shift into a completely different reality structure. Some people are consciously participating in this transition, while others are unconsciously resisting it, creating the appearance of increased conflict and division. Your sensitivity to these changes means you're part of the conscious transition group. You're not just developing personal quantum shifting abilities. You're helping to anchor the new reality template for others to access. But this cosmic responsibility comes with a time limit. The window for easy mastery is closing, because the collective field is approaching a point of irreversible momentum. This is why you can't ignore these insights even when they challenge your logical mind. This is why you feel such urgency to understand and embody these principles. Your soul recognizes that missing this opportunity means waiting potentially decades for the next wave of consciousness evolution to create similarly favorable conditions for quantum shifting mastery. The universe has been preparing you for this exact moment through every challenge, every insight, every synchronicity that brought you to this understanding. The only question now is whether you'll trust the process enough to allow the simplicity of quantum shifting to replace the complexity you've been conditioned to expect. What you want is already real in parallel timelines that exist simultaneously with this current moment. This isn't motivational metaphor. This is literal quantum mechanics. Every possibility you can imagine exists as an actual reality in the multidimensional field. And quantum shifting is simply your consciousness learning to step sideways into these already existing experiences. The reason your desires feel so compelling is that they're not creations of wishful thinking. They're recognitions of parallel versions of yourself who are already living those experiences. The longing you feel isn't lack. It's your consciousness sensing the proximity of these alternate realities and naturally wanting to align with them. You're not trying to create something new, you're trying to access something that already exists. But here's the revolutionary understanding that changes everything about how manifestation actually works. Alignment isn't about making yourself worthy of your desires or raising your vibration to match them. True alignment happens when you recognize that you're already worthy, you're already at the right vibration. You just need to stop interfering with the natural flow that would carry you to those parallel experiences. Most people exhaust themselves trying to become someone who deserves their dreams, but quantum shifting reveals that all possible versions of yourself exist simultaneously. The version who has everything you want isn't a future potential. It's a parallel present that becomes accessible the moment you stop believing you need to change to access it. This recognition creates what we call dimensional relaxation. Instead of striving toward your desires, you relax into them. Instead of trying to become worthy, you acknowledge that worthiness was never the issue. Instead of raising your vibration, you notice that your natural vibration already matches infinite possibilities. You just need to stop lowering it through resistance and effort. The quantum field doesn't respond to desperation or trying harder. It responds to consciousness that's relaxed enough to allow natural processes to unfold. When you stop pushing against your current reality and start exploring it as one option among many, the barriers between you and parallel timelines begin to dissolve automatically. Right now, as you absorb these concepts, your consciousness is being recalibrated to recognize alignment as your natural state rather than something you need to achieve. This shift from seeking alignment to recognizing existing alignment is what transforms quantum shifting from struggle to simplicity. In the comments below, declare your readiness for this level of simplicity by writing these exact words. I allow parallel realities to become accessible. This isn't just a comment, it's a quantum command that signals your willingness to stop complicating a naturally simple process. When you make this declaration with genuine understanding of what it means, you're authorizing your consciousness to begin operating from dimensional fluidity rather than timeline rigidity. Don't analyze or explain, just make the declaration. This creates a quantum signature in your field that begins attracting the specific insights and synchronicities that will make quantum shifting feel as natural as walking from one room to another. The universe is waiting for your permission to reveal how elegantly simple this process really is. When you master quantum shifting through this recognition of its fundamental simplicity, abilities that seemed supernatural become as natural as any other skill you've developed. Your intuition becomes so precise that you know which choices lead to which outcomes before you make them. not through psychic prediction, but through quantum coherence with emerging possibilities. You begin sensing the different emotional signatures of parallel timelines, allowing you to select experiences based on how they feel rather than how they look. Your problem-solving capabilities expand exponentially because you're no longer limited to solutions that exist within your current reality framework. When faced with challenges, instead of trying to think your way through them, you simply shift to a parallel timeline where the solution already exists and download it from that version of yourself. Complex problems that used to take weeks to resolve now clear up in hours or minutes through this interdimensional collaboration with your own consciousness. Relationships transform because you're no longer stuck in repetitive dynamics with the same people. Instead of trying to change how others behave, you quantum shift to timelines where you interact with versions of those people who naturally express their highest potential. The same individuals become completely different in their responses to you because you're accessing parallel versions of both yourself and them simultaneously. Your creative output becomes unprecedented because you're not limited to ideas that originate from your personal experience and knowledge. You begin channeling insights, solutions, and artistic expressions from parallel versions of yourself who develop different talents and explore different interests. Your work becomes uniquely original because it's synthesizing wisdom from multiple dimensional perspectives simultaneously. Financial abundance flows more naturally because you're no longer unconsciously selecting for scarcity timelines. Instead of trying to change your money situation through effort and strategy, you simply shift to parallel realities where financial flow is your natural state. Opportunities, resources, and connections appear synchronistically because you're operating from timelines where abundance is the baseline rather than the exception. Physical health optimizes automatically because you're accessing versions of yourself from timelines where your body operates at peak efficiency. Instead of fighting against symptoms or trying to force healing, you quantum shift to realities where vibrant health is your standard experience. Your cells begin receiving information from parallel bodies that never develop the limitations your current timeline may have acquired. Time becomes your ally rather than your constraint because you're no longer locked into linear progression through experiences. You can access wisdom from future versions of yourself who have already mastered skills you're currently developing. You can heal past traumas by shifting to timelines where those experiences were processed differently. The entire concept of "it takes time" dissolves when you understand that all possibilities exist simultaneously. The most profound benefit is the deep peace that comes from recognizing you're never truly stuck in any situation. Every challenge, limitation, or unwanted circumstance is simply one timeline among infinite alternatives. This understanding transforms your entire relationship with difficulty from resistance to curiosity. Instead of fighting against what you don't want, you become interested in exploring what else might be available. The ultimate secret of quantum shifting is that it's not about changing your reality. It's about changing which reality you're aware of. Right now, infinite versions of your life are playing out simultaneously across parallel dimensions. The version where you have perfect health, abundant resources, ideal relationships, creative fulfillment. These aren't future possibilities you need to manifest. They're current realities you need to attune to. Consciousness doesn't create reality. Consciousness selects reality from infinite options that already exist. This selection happens through the quality of your attention, not through the content of your thoughts. When your attention becomes fluid rather than fixated, relaxed rather than forced, curious rather than desperate, you naturally begin noticing realities that were always available but previously invisible to your awareness. The reason most manifestation techniques fail is that they try to change the movie instead of simply changing the channel. You're not creating your desired reality through visualization, affirmation, or energy work. You're using these tools to tune your consciousness to frequencies where those experiences already exist. But the tuning happens through relaxation. not effort. This is why children are natural quantum shifters and why indigenous cultures understood reality as fluid and responsive. They hadn't been conditioned to believe that current circumstances represent fixed truth rather than temporary experience. Their consciousness naturally flowed between different reality streams without the mental rigidity that makes shifting feel difficult for most adults. True mastery of quantum shifting comes when you realize that the you who wants to change your life and the you who's already living your ideal life are the same consciousness experiencing itself from different dimensional perspectives. There's no gap to bridge, no transformation to undergo, no worthiness to develop. There's only recognition of what's already true and relaxation into that recognition. This recognition creates what quantum physicists call observer coherence, a unified field where all possibilities exist simultaneously and consciousness can navigate between them as easily as moving your attention from one object to another. In this coherent state, quantum shifting becomes as natural as looking in different directions to see different views of the same landscape. The most advanced quantum shifters don't try to control which reality they experience. They develop exquisite sensitivity to the feeling signatures of different parallel timelines and then simply relax into the ones that feel most aligned with their authentic nature. This approach transforms reality creation from effortful manifestation to effortless navigation. When you embody this level of understanding, you realize that every moment offers infinite choices about which reality to experience next. The current timeline isn't something you're trapped in, it's something you're temporarily focused on. Shifting between realities becomes as simple as deciding to pay attention to something different. This is happening to thousands of people across the planet right now. We're not just individually mastering quantum shifting, we're collectively remembering what mystics and shamans have always known. Reality is infinitely more flexible than consensus culture pretends. Your mastery of this ability contributes to a global awakening where humanity remembers its true creative nature. The simplicity of quantum shifting is its greatest power and its greatest challenge. We've been conditioned to believe that profound capabilities must require complex development, but some of the most fundamental abilities, like love, presence, and quantum shifting, are expressions of our essential nature that emerge naturally when we stop interfering with them. You were born during this precise time period because humanity is collectively learning to quantum shift as a species. The individual mastery you're developing isn't just personal evolution, it's part of a planetary transition where human consciousness remembers its true multidimensional nature. Every person who masters quantum shifting creates morphic resonance that makes this ability more accessible for everyone else on Earth. The children being born now will naturally operate with quantum shifting abilities that seem miraculous compared to current human standards. They'll grow up in a reality where moving between parallel timelines is as normal as using technology is for your generation. Your mastery of these principles is literally anchoring the possibility template that will make their natural ability socially acceptable and practically applicable. This is why you've felt such responsibility lately, such urgency to understand these concepts not just intellectually but experientially. You're not just seeking personal transformation, you're serving as a bridge between the old paradigm, where reality seemed fixed and unchangeable, and the new paradigm where reality is recognized as infinitely fluid and responsive to consciousness. The synchronicities that brought you to this understanding are part of a larger orchestration involving millions of awakening souls across the planet. We're finding each other through quantum entanglement, sharing insights that accelerate everyone's remembering process. Your recognition of quantum shifting as natural and simple strengthens the entire network of consciousness evolution happening globally. But here's the most profound aspect of your cosmic role. As you master quantum shifting, you don't just change your personal reality. You alter the fundamental fabric of consensus reality itself. Every time you successfully shift to a parallel timeline, You create microscopic changes in the collective field that make reality slightly more fluid for everyone. Your individual mastery serves the collective awakening. This is why the resistance to these concepts can feel so intense sometimes. It's not just your conditioned mind trying to maintain familiar patterns. It's the entire matrix of limitation recognizing that its time is ending. Every person who masters quantum shifting weakens the collective hypnosis that has kept humanity believing in scarcity, separation, and powerlessness. The most mysterious part is that your mastery of quantum shifting will eventually reach a level where you help others remember their abilities simply through your presence. Your coherent consciousness creates what we call reality softening, moments where other people's rigid beliefs about what's possible begin to relax, allowing them glimpses of their own multidimensional nature. This transformation is irreversible once it reaches critical mass. Humanity is approaching a point where quantum shifting will become so commonplace that the old paradigm of struggle and limitation will seem as antiquated as believing the Earth is flat. Your contribution to reaching this critical mass is more significant than you realize. Share this understanding with anyone whose consciousness is ready to receive it. Not to convince them of anything, but to help them remember what they already know at the soul level. The more people who recognize quantum shifting as their birthright rather than a special ability, the faster we can collectively transition into the reality where limitation patterns are obsolete and infinite possibilities are the recognized foundation of human experience. If quantum shifting feels simple and natural as you listen to these words, if you can sense the truth of these concepts resonating in your bones rather than just your mind, then make one clear declaration in the comments below. Write exactly this. Simple. Nothing more, nothing less. This isn't just engagement for the algorithm. This is you acknowledging that you're ready to release the complex approaches that haven't been working and embrace the elegant simplicity that makes quantum shifting as natural as breathing. Every person who makes this declaration creates stronger morphic resonance that helps everyone else access this understanding more easily. When you write that single word with genuine recognition of what it represents, you're not just commenting on a video. You're making a quantum commitment to operate from the truth that the most profound transformations happen through relaxation rather than effort, through allowing rather than forcing, through curiosity rather than desperation. But here's what I need you to understand. Mastering the simplicity of quantum shifting opens the door to something even more extraordinary. Once you can effortlessly navigate between parallel realities, you gain access to what we call timeline architecture, the ability to consciously design and anchor entirely new reality templates that have never existed before in human experience. In the next video, I'm going to reveal exactly how advanced quantum shifters don't just move between existing possibilities. They create completely original timelines that serve the highest evolution of consciousness itself. You'll discover why some individuals seem to live in a reality that operates by different rules entirely, where synchronicities are constant, where resources flow effortlessly, where relationships are deeply fulfilling, and where creative expression becomes a direct collaboration with cosmic intelligence. This isn't about becoming superhuman. This is about remembering the full spectrum of what human consciousness is actually capable of when it's no longer constrained by collective limitation patterns. But this advanced understanding can only be shared with people who have already mastered the simplicity of basic quantum shifting. Subscribe now because the next video contains insights that will fundamentally alter your understanding of what's possible in human experience. This information has never been shared publicly before because it required a critical mass of people to first understand quantum shifting basics before the advanced principles could be safely transmitted. More importantly, subscribe because you're not just following a channel. You're aligning with a frequency of consciousness evolution that's active across the entire planet. Every subscriber becomes part of a quantum network that accelerates the collective remembering process through morphic resonance. The old paradigm where reality seemed solid and unchangeable is dissolving whether you participate consciously or not. The question is whether you'll be one of the pioneers who helps architect the new paradigm, or someone who experiences it later after the most exciting creative phase is complete. Your future self is already living in timelines where quantum shifting is as natural as walking. The only question is how quickly your present awareness will catch up. Make the declaration. Join the network. Let's collectively remember what human consciousness is truly capable of when it operates from its essential nature rather than its conditioned limitations. The universe has been waiting eons for this moment when humanity would remember its multidimensional creative nature. Today is the day that waiting ends. Today is the day quantum shifting becomes simple, because you finally understand this.